In this episode, Best Girl Mimi is back for a duel against none other than her son, and it gets pretty interesting. Hey, my name is Rex, and let's go ahead and discuss episode 20 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. This one was a pretty neat episode, again, continuing the whole Garden of Providence arc with Neil and everything. So this one, like I said, starts off with Mimi, and she's kind of feeling a little unsure of herself, and a pretty interesting thing comes up where she says something along the lines of, you know, if Neil's the one to defeat Yuga, then of course he'll get the credit and not me. And of course, and she won't be able to get, you know, whatever points or continue moving up or continue working toward things. And you know, this is kind of influenced or amplified by later when she's at school, which that was really weird how when she's at school she sees her son Yoshio and has to hide from him because it's like, oh yeah, shoot, she does have to do that. She's undercover. It's weird, but it's great. But she sees that Yoshio is having trouble writing an essay that he's supposed to do about his dreams. So then she decides that she has to set an example for him by, you know, doing well at her job, by working up at Goha. And how that is of course, you know, taking down Yuga's group because, you know, technically she's working for the antagonist of the series. You know, all real interesting plays going on here. But at the same time, Yoshio of course goes to Luke asking for advice, and Luke basically just tells him, you know, keep dueling, you'll find your dream, you'll open your door, as he says, because that's Luke's thing now. So at the same time, while they're all out like on the lunch table, ground opens up and it's time for another duel. They're underground again, and it seems like they're not safe anywhere. Wherever they are, the ground can just open up, even at school, which, you know, weird, but it's funny. It's funny we get to see that again. But now it's revealed that of course the duelist that they're going to be facing off against is Mimi, of course, you know, in disguise, or not in disguise, but in her Goha uniform, where her face is obscured, and she's the number 6 out of like these people at Goha, or like the higher ups at Goha, so she's just referred to herself as number 6. So interesting. And at this point too, we get the flashback where she goes to Neil asking him, hey, you know, can I duel? And of course Neil accepts, and he says that it'll be an interesting duel, an interesting game, and especially with what happens at the end. But what happens now is everybody's trying to decide, you know, who's going to duel. And I think that's also interesting because we get to see everybody wanting to be part of the action, especially Roman says something like, it's no fun just watching. So they're all trying to figure out who's going to duel, and it turns out that Yoshio's with them, and he wants to duel, again, you know, being inspired by what Luke had just told him, so they let him duel. And so now, really interesting, because, you know, it's mother versus son, but they all don't know that this is, that this is actually Mimi, but she knows who they all are. So, of course, Yoshio gets all suited up and into the apocalyptic Duel King form. Which again, I was sending my friends some pictures of this episode out of context, and it's just so great because this series is amazing out of context. Again, for people who know nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, but it's still so fun. So the duel begins, and on Mimi's turn, she's summoning quite a few monsters, and, you know, getting their life point gaining effects. And what's interesting is that everyone else watching, mostly Yuga, of course. Everyone else is kind of picking up on things, and especially, you know, when they first saw number 6, Mimi, they said, hey, isn't that the person who showed up for the ruling a while ago, and her voice sounds familiar. So they're all kind of picking up on things, you know, and it makes sense because Yuga is just extremely observant, and of course Luke is like, what's going on? I don't get what you're saying. So, you know, makes for some good comedy, but at the same time, it seems like, you know, they've all kind of figured things out at this point. So in the duel, then it goes to Yoshio's turn. He summons his monsters. They're destroyed, and, you know, the duel, it's a bit of a back and forth, right? And at one point, you know, Mimi summons her ace monster, the Dian Keto monster, and, you know, takes out Yoshio's ace monster. And though I would have wished that, you know, maybe Mimi gets a new ace monster. She gets new regular monsters like the seahorse things, but I would have liked if she got a new ace monster, because, you know, at this point then it's extremely obvious to like the other characters, like, oh yeah, sure, this has to be Mimi because that's her monster and whatever. So I would have liked if she got a new ace monster. That would have been cool, and especially because we haven't seen her duel since the episode she was introduced in. But regardless, then it goes over to Yoshio's turn, and you know, he's taking a bit of a beating, and even to the point where his suit just like bursts and everything. And so Mimi then says, just go ahead and surrender, right, for the duel. And this whole duel is really interesting because we understand each of their motivations, right? Mimi's under the impression that she has to win this duel in order to work herself up at Goha, at the company, and then set an example for Yoshio. While Yoshio himself thinks that I need to win this duel in order to figure out my own dream. So realistically, they're both working toward the same goal. And so it just becomes real interesting, especially with a lot of their internal monologues. And when Mimi, of course, or number 6, as she's known to everyone at this point, tells Yoshio to just surrender, then he turns around and he says, no, why would I ever surrender? I'm not going to surrender. And at this point, it becomes really nice too, because then he says, my mom works really hard every day, and but she's still there for me, and she still cooks for me and is a good mother to me. So, and she never gives up, so I'm not going to. And then it's real nice too, because then it's like, oh well, we see their family bond just kind of continuing to grow, continuing to build. So that's just really nice. And then Yoshio summons a brand new ace monster, which, like I said, he gets a new one. So I would have liked if Mimi had a new one, but this one is pretty sick, honestly. His whole archetype is interesting, being all the weird apocalyptic stuff, the Mad Max inspired things, basically the Beast Gears, that's what they're called. And they all look fine, but I think this new ace monster looks just really sick. It's just a huge lion dude just sitting on a throne of trucks. It's amazing. So it's got an interesting effect too, where it can tribute his own monsters to gain attack equal to their 100 times their levels. But then it's also got that other really cool effect where it can attack each monster once on the opponent's side of the field, which I think the Rex monster had that a while ago. But it's a relatively common effect with some big Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But when you think about it, it works really well for rush duels like this. So anyway, he's able to use this to destroy all our monsters and defeat her, and then that's the duel. But at the same time, Yoshio is just exhausted after the duel, having not slept, so he's about to faint. The funny thing is, Luke is like, oh shoot, I better catch him. But then Mimi just rushes in, pushes Luke out of the way, and catches him. Those motherly instincts coming in. And Yoshio's just knocked out. He's asleep, nicely asleep. And at this point, Mimi's mask breaks, and so now it's just out in the open. It's revealed to everybody that yes, this was Mimi the whole time. And they have a conversation, and she lets him in on, yes, I've been a Goha spy, I'm an adult, and I'm Yoshio's mother. So everything's out there. There are no secrets between them now, which is going to be interesting to see going forward. We're not going to get to see her spying as much, I guess. Maybe we will, because she's still employed at Goha. But I think they're all still friends, maybe. And so it's a nice moment. But here's the thing, though: the big twist comes when they all get a penalty after this duel on their duel disc. And of course, Neil chimes in over an intercom, and it's so at this point, like, the whole episode was good and entertaining. I liked it. But this point, it like ramped the episode up a lot more, because it's like, oh shoot, he played them. Because apparently Mimi is technically part of their group. So if she lost the duel, Yuga's group lost the duel. And of course he says, oh, it wasn't me, it's my advanced AI that determines whether you're part of whether you're part of their group. And apparently she is, because she's basically their friend. Again, one of the best characters in this series, with how she interacts with all of them. But the duel was rigged from the start. Whoever won or lost didn't matter. They were going to get a penalty anyway. And so it's it's so good. He played him. So yeah, whoever lost, they'd get a penalty. And the interesting thing is, it cuts to several other characters also getting a penalty on their duel disc. And so it's similar to what happened in the first episode with the duel disc penalties, rather than oh, you just got to beat 6 or you need to not lose 6 times in a duel. So it seems like it's going off the penalty system. I didn't think that would be the case. I don't know for whatever reason I didn't. But again, it cuts to several other characters who are also affiliated with them getting penalties on their duel discs. So this is a lot bigger than we thought, and especially with the fact that if Mimi's considered part of their group, so is everybody else who's been introduced in the series, basically. And so I guess that makes it a lot bigger, because when this arc was introduced, I thought it was going to be more so, oh, there are 6 duelists, and if you lose to all 6 of them, then you're done for. But now that it's kind of expanded past the smaller initial group to basically everybody else, there could be a lot more duels, and this could go on for a lot longer than we initially thought. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. But especially, with the final confrontation, it's going to be between Neil and Yuga. That's going to be the most interesting thing to watch, especially. But overall, everything is just building. It's building so well in this arc and this series, and I'm really enjoying it. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, this was a great episode. I just love seeing more of Mimi, and I think the twist at the end was just so good. But let me know what you think about this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What would you like to see going forward for the series and other episodes? You can enable notifications by clicking that bell icon. Subscribe, show your support, all that stuff. It's mostly Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 stuff. So if you hit that bell, it'll be a little more, if you enable the notifications, it'll be a little more better, I guess, because sometimes the reviews are a little inconsistent. This one's going up late for reasons, because I messed up the first recording, which is so bad, so terrible, and it went on longer. But regardless, basic YouTube shill stuff. But let me know what you think. I'd love to read your comments as well. Those always make my day. But anyway, this has been Rex. Have a nice day.